Chad, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you, Ryan, for having me. Thank you, Kyle, also for this great relationship that is taking form. Just so everyone knows, I'm Chad with Reach Estate, team lead of the Reach Estate team. We are a business service partnership in the EXP model, EXP Realty model. So what we're doing is just looking to get to know one another and share what is the part that then motivates the agents to feel inspired, to feel confident in what they're surrounded by.
One of the things I always look back on is like my grandfather, because he was a big part of my life, big inspiration to me. And I always point to the example of like his home. So his home, which I currently own now, my grandfather's home.
That I didn't know.
He built it in 1948 for $10,000. So he built that home in 1948 for $10,000, and he literally paid it off within a couple of years because he saw his father lose his house in the Great Depression. So he was recently married, just had a baby, my aunt, and so he was like, "Listen, I want to pay this off in a couple of years," because he knew he was getting deployed to the Korean War, and he was like, "Listen, if anything happens to me, I want to make sure that my family has a house, right?" So, but that was a house where he gets deployed. He comes back. Sees his family there. He has my father, gets deployed again. So he was in the Korean War, is in World War II. It was in that house where, he got to see my dad, growing up from age 3 to, probably around like 6 or 7 for the first time in that front lawn. It was a house where there's so many Christmases and birthdays and celebrations. I mean, if you think about all the things that happened in a home, it was in that house where my grandfather then said goodbye to my father as he went to the Vietnam War. And then in that same lawn, he greeted him as he came home 4 years later. It was in that house where I remember going, my grandfather was a dentist. And so I think he did this to torture us, but he set up another dentist chair in his basement.
Wow.
Because he upgraded the one in his office. So instead of like throwing it out, he put it in the basement. So when us kids would come up for any type of holidays, he would look at our teeth. And he didn't use any Novocaine. So if we had any cavities, it was drill and fill with no numbing. So I remember laying on the chair,
Oh my gosh,
screaming and like crying and holding my parents' hands as he, drilled their mouth. So that's a good deterrent from eating candy as a little kid. But, it was in that home where we just had like so many memories. He was married to my grandmother for 67 years in that home. She took her last breath in that home with my grandfather at her side. And this past January, he took his last breath in that home too, at the age of 105 years old, in his very home that he built.
Isn't that beautiful?
So, I just look at that and it's just you think about like what we do. We help people get into a home, and you can think of it very transactional. Like, oh, it's just another deal, it's another lead, it's another, another closing. You can think of it as a commodity, but really, if you truly think about it, like this is like somebody's home. It's a big deal. Like this is a big deal. Like what we're doing is a big deal, and I don't think we can like lose sight of that. It's so easy to lose sight of that because we're always on the grind, always trying to build and grow and all this stuff. But at any time I need some humility, I look back at that and I think of my grandfather, and I just think of that. I was like, it's just such it's such an important part of people's lives that we have there's just a short little impact on.
Totally.
So let's make it a great impact and let's help people and use that as our driving force.
I think this is very well rounded in just discussing a little bit about who you are as people, what your dedication is to that level, to the business that's at hand, and the sincerity between the relationship between our team and your team to be able to serve the agent and serve the consumer. That is the passion behind the mission statements that we make for both of our operations.
It's been great.
All right. I'm going to shake both of your hands. Thank you. Thank you.
It's an honor,
really
Chad, and
confident in you
thank you
guys.
for your trust in us. And
Yeah.
here we're looking forward to working with you guys and
Thank you
making
for
this a
reaching
great
out
year.
and trying to make it happen. We've had great events. You guys have been very generous with beautiful events. We had a red carpet gala in Fort Lauderdale in December. We had another wonderful family event in Orlando at the Wonderworks. You guys were instrumental in those events, and we thank you for that as well. So,
pleasure.
we're going to make sure that we provide back to you in all we can do in partnership.